guys, it's Sanya, and I'm back today with a book review for A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I'd like to preface this video by saying that I've had a huge change of heart in how I see these books. If my last video about Queen of Shadows with my friend was anything to go by how I viewed Sarah J. Maas's writing, I think I've done a complete 180. There was also a small time period where I literally saw everything in black and white in terms of how these books were written, and I do not think that's a very healthy way of looking at things, so I'd like to apologize for how mean they were, but I do stand by the general intent of what I was trying to say. Okay, let's dig right in. So I gave this book series a 3 out of 5 star flat. It was probably the most unexciting out of the 3 books. A Court of Mist and Fury was definitely the most dynamic, I think, and this just kind of fell short. It was supposed to be exciting with the final battle and like everyone coming together, blah blah, you know, Feyre exacting her revenge on Tamlin and so on and so forth, but it just, nothing hit that peak of, you know, tension. It just kind of was like a lazy waiting pool throughout the entire thing. Conflicts came the way you expected them to come, and kind of went by the way you expected them to go, and it just was very bland and very unexciting. And usually Sarah J. Maas's writing, you know, she has these little breadcrumbs that you tend to pick up on and, you know, anticipate things, and that kind of helps build the tension, but here everything was a roadblock and you didn't realize it was relevant until the thing happened, and I think that was very detrimental to the tone. It just kind of felt very unexciting. Yeah, which fell short on this book, but essentially I read this book in like 2 days. It's like crack fiction to me, so it was a fast read, and then I, you know, softened, bleached my brain out with some nice, diverse novels. Okay, moving on. I just want to talk about the diversity in this novel. In retrospect, I did not realize how much cultural appropriation just slid by me. I'd like to say that that was because I wasn't as savvy about that kind of stuff, but no, I think it was just my blind faith in Sarah J. Maas, which is also not a great thing. There's the entirety of Velaris, and Rhys's court kind of draws on this like fetishized Middle Eastern culture in terms of outfitting, the tattoos and so on and so forth, and it's a mixture of like this Celtic, Irish, Middle Eastern hodgepodge mess that really makes no sense in terms of how this kind of was built. And that, in retrospect, like deconstructs the entire way this world was created and just falls flat in general. Let's talk about racial diversity. Of course, these are not humans. They're Fae, but our main cast is majority white. And then you have a peppering of 3 or 4 somewhat racially ambiguous brown-looking characters in the background that really doesn't lend a hand to overall diversity. Like, there needs to be that sweet spot between diversity of your main cast and diversity of your background cast. Because if you're just gonna have 3 people of color in your main cast and everyone else in the background white, that's really not giving you any kind of positive opinion on diversity. And if you just have background characters, you clearly do not care about diversity. It needs to be an all-round, just to, you know, model the way real life exists. And sure, it is a fictional world, but I think there needs to be some kind of thought given to the way the current society is perceiving itself into the books that you're writing. And it is necessary to definitely diversify both your primary characters and your secondary and background characters as well. That is so important in terms of representation, to know that, you know, people like you in terms of minority experiences do exist in the foreground and the background. That is essential. That has not happened in this book series or any of Sarah J. Maas's books at all. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the LGBTQ diversity, and what everyone went off about on Twitter was the acephobic language. In retrospect, I definitely do not think it was as inflammatory as I expected it to be. I saw the lines, of course, screen caps and all of that on Twitter, but it wasn't in context. It wasn't like the worst thing I'm sure the intent of it wasn't to be asophobic, but it definitely came off that way, and I think that needs to be taken into account. Asexual people are not soulless amoebas. We're actually real people who just do not have sexual, sometimes not even romantic attraction to other people, and that's an okay way to exist. And I think that was very, very wrong to include in this book. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about is more. I think a lot of people online have taken Moore to be a lesbian, but if you read into the way she describes herself, Moore is bisexual, heteroromantic. She sees herself living her life out with women, or females, but she does get sexual gratification from both males and females. And that is a more dynamic sexual and gender identity. I respect that that was included, but again, Moore's, like, it seemed like sex with men seemed forced, and there was also some kind of residual trauma that, like, bled into the way she reacted to having intercourse with men that really was not a positive thing to add in general. Like, Moore's trauma kind of came through, and, like, her interaction with men did not seem positive, and that I think was unhealthy. But again, like, I do not understand the semantics of that. I've never had experiences close to that to talk about it in depth, but I just felt that there was something very off about that. Third thing is Helion, or Hellion. Bisexuality does not mean we're bisexual people are rabid sex monsters who want to copulate rabbits. No. Bisexuality is an identity, and that needs to be treated with respect. Bisexual does not mean they're going to be always interested in threesomes. That is just a very harmful thing to put into a book. Like, I get that Sarah J. Maas is attempting to diversify her characters in terms of, like, sexual and romantic orientation, but it's really not done well. And I would like to say, try again, try better, and put in real effort this time. Please. In general, this entire book series, all of her books actually, have just been so heteronormative. It is sickening and tiresome, truly. And I just don't dig it. Couple of last notes that I have. Rhys turned into a major fuckboy. Tamlin can go die under a rock. Elaine needs to be coddled less. She kind of grew a spine in the end, but it really bore down on everyone else's struggles, that she was treated like a little delicate little princess when other people, Feyre especially, had so many other things to deal with. But, like, I might be sounding insensitive, but she really needed to toughen up. There were a couple of positive things I do want to say about this book, though. Sarah J. Maas has made all of her books, actually, to be very sex positive and open up, you know, I think, for the most part, aside from the gruesome and gross sex scenes, definitely does open up conversation for, like, sex positive habits. And I think that's okay. Consent is a huge, huge, huge theme in these books, and I really, really appreciate that a lot, because that is a major problem in how our world operates today. Consent is not taken as seriously as it should be. So thank you, Sarah J. Maas, for creating books that somewhat attempt to be sex positive and have positive conversations about sexual intercourse, and also that reinforce the idea of consent so much. And I think those are two of a small number of things that are appreciated about this book series. That is all I have for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share if you like, you know, do it all down in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!